So hi everyone. I'm Nicolas Fleury, work at Ubisoft, Montreal and Rainbow Six Siege. And a few years ago in a CppCon talk, I introduced FastBuild, but I admitted a tech really important to us, which is Sharpmake. And we're finally making it open source at Ubisoft. So if you know pre-make and CMake, well, it's pretty similar and what it does. And in my opinion, and a lot of others, it's actually much more fun to work with. So Sharpmake is using C# as a scripting language and implementation language as well. And it's really designed for big C++ projects. This is really where Sharpmake is shining. And what we've seen is that C++ programmers are also really comfortable to edit the Sharpmake files. And Sharpmake is fast to generate projects. And this is really important for us because we generate projects each time we sync code. And today we even generate our C# projects with it as well. It has built-in support for FastBuild makefiles, which is great if you want to give FastBuild a try. And since it's in C# with Visual Studio, we get IntelliSense and debugging support as well, which is appreciated. So this talk is really giving you a very quick glimpse of the concept of Sharpmake. The first one, the fragments, they are defined with enums like this one. We can see the values are using different bits. The fragments are used to define targets, who are basically classes with a bunch of properties, each one with a different fragment type. The fragments are letting you multiply a number of targets easily. So here, through a single call to the target constructor, I'm actually building an instance representing a target list. A project in Sharpmake is implemented with a class, and by project I mean a library or executable. The constructor of that class will be called a single time, unless it's a base class for another project as well. In the constructor, one of the main things you will do is add the targets for the project. Sharpmake is made that way to be able to parallelize the processing of all the projects as soon as possible. It's not that big of a deal because typically what you will do is define a class hierarchy for your projects and move that line to a base class to not repeat yourself. In a project, you can add one or more configure function, and they take two arguments. The first one is the configuration, which is the output, and the second one is the target, which is the input. The configure function is called for every target in the project, which means that inside that function, you can use code very intuitive for C++ programmers. You can use if-else, switch cases, virtual functions, public static functions, and other classes, whatever you want. This is normal C# code. When it comes to dependencies, you add them inside configure functions, since dependencies can be specific to targets. So you specify the project type you depend on and the target. The target is typically the same, but it's possible for different project types to use different target types. And in that case, it won't compile, so we'll need to write some conversion code between the two types, which you can write the way you want. Here it's done inside a public method. Dependencies are important for programmers. I mean, for C++ programmers, we want to define everything about a library a single place. And Sharpmake is giving you all the tools to do that. So for example, for processor definition, there's a difference between the one necessary for the dependent and the one to compile the library itself. Same thing for include paths, and there's even stuff if you want to have, for example, specific files in the final executable folder. When I say that a project is a class, I don't mean a project file. So a project file in Sharpmake is like any output, and it's all handled automatically. So suppose here I'm setting the project file name. Here we can see another feature of Sharpmake, which is a reflection-based system that we can use in strings. We use this one sometimes instead of C#, normal string features, because it's actually evaluated much later by Sharpmake. But anyway, suppose I change this line to this one. Now I'm saying that my project files should be platform-specific. So I want to generate more project files. Well, that's it. And only change that line, and Sharpmake will generate solutions and all of that according to that, and we'll say if anything doesn't make sense. So pretty much it. We've been using Sharpmake in production since 2011, so even we've released it only today. It's actually a major tech. And there's a bunch of features I'm not mentioning. This is all the platforms it is supporting, and for any platform you don't see the code public on GitHub, it's actually because the platform holders, for NDA reasons, prefer you go through them to get the code. So please don't re-implement. And with the remaining time, I want to mention another tool that was made open source last week by someone who could not be here today. It's the Orbit Profiler. It's a profiler that is basically instrumenting your code live, inserting hooks at the beginning and end of your function live in your application. And in the end, you get something like the best of both worlds between a sampling profiler and an instrumenting profiler. So I suggest to check it out as well. Thank you. Bye.